Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Auburn Live Recruiting Show. I'm your host, Jeffrey Lee, Senior Recruiting Editor for Auburn Live on 3. Dadgummit. Today is Tuesday, January the 14th, 2025, our first recruiting show of the new year. We might release this on Wednesday, so keep that in mind moving forward with any today's, tomorrow's, or yesterday. We will always, as always, try to do our best to dodge the confusion, but we are prone to confusing folks because we ourselves are confused. But as always, with me on these recruiting shows, when they're here 100% of the time. Mr. Cole Pinkston, Sir Alan Head, how about you, fellas? Happy New Year!
How about you? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm here, profanity free today, much to the chagrin of maybe some of our watchers on YouTube.
Mixing it up.
Yeah, I thought I might keep it clean today in case any of the kiddos want to listen.
Sir Alan Head got a little fired up the other night on the call-in show. Let a little bomb slip out, and not the
fong bomb. Yeah, not the fong bomb. Right?
It happens. It happens.
We're going to catch everybody up on what's been going on the past 2 weeks in Auburn recruiting. We're going to take some questions from the corner. And we're going to dish out a couple of how-about-yous. Before we get to what's going on, want to everybody get all the leftovers are gone from the holidays. It's time to turn that new page. You're looking to get a little bit more healthy, maybe a little bit easier, maybe eat from home a little bit more. We've got just what you're looking for. HelloFresh, folks. HelloFresh. If you don't know what HelloFresh is, you haven't been watching this show. They're a loyal sponsor of our show. We absolutely appreciate HelloFresh. HelloFresh is you get farm fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip those trips to the grocery store. Count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why they're number one in American meal kit rankings. Number one, folks. There's always something for everyone on the menu at HelloFresh with 50 chef-crafted recipes to choose from every week, plus customizable options to make your meals just the way you like them. You'll be able to easily satisfy every craving, family-friendly, valuable time you can save instead of going to the grocery store. Thanks to HelloFresh, they deliver it right to your doorstep. They've got the ingredients, got everything set out, pre-portioned. All you got to do is follow the instructions, and even I can do it. We're all here on fans of HelloFresh on the show. One pot chicken sausage. I pulled three of my favorites. One pot chicken sausage and bean soup. One pot Mexicali black bean soup, and one pan turkey stir fry tacos. Absolutely fabulous. The kids love them. Easy to make, fun to make. If that's kind of what your thing. Anyways, HelloFresh still has a promo going. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/free Auburn Live. That's free Auburn Live, all lowercase, all one word. Applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers only. Varies by plan. That's 10 free HelloFresh meals. Just go to HelloFresh.com/free Auburn Live. All right, fellas, let's catch everybody up on what's going on. Auburn, to this point, has moved up a spot from probably the last time we all talked. They are sitting, the 2025 recruiting class is sitting at number 6 in the country. I think they were at number 7, and somebody lost a commitment and dropped below Auburn. Anyways, Auburn's got at number 6 in the country, 25 high school signees, 16 transfer additions for a total of 41 new guys on the roster come the summer. I think there's 5 guys still going to enroll in the summer, but 36 are coming in right now to start classes this week. So big roster turnover from Auburn. Probably going to end up being half of the 85 new guys. And that's kind of become status quo the last year or two, hasn't it?
It really has. And I think we all expected it in year one, right? Because Auburn needed to badly flush the roster to a degree and to bring in some new blood, new talent. They kind of gelled with the thought process of this coaching staff. Moving into year 3 of talent acquisition, I don't necessarily think that I believe there would be this level of turnover. But coming out of the year that you just had where you were 5-7, you weren't as successful as you wanted to be. And some of the transfer additions that you picked up in year 1 finally rolled off. I think it was a larger senior class than maybe some of us had anticipated coming into the year, really even thought about because of the transfers that you added. So it created a little bit more of a talent acquisition need to have that much turnover, because I don't feel like Auburn really asked guys or pushed guys out all that much. I felt like it was just natural attrition through the senior class. And then, a handful of guys just looked for better opportunities. I don't believe there's anybody that was just asked to turn around to jump in the portal and look around. So it was needed. It was eye-opening, like you talked about, Jeffrey. Like, again, anytime you start talking about turning over half of your roster, half of your 85, and then how do you get all that to play together the next year? I'm certainly glad I'm not a coach on the staff because they have a tall task in front of them, but I think they have the talent on the roster at a minimum to be able to get this task done next year and having a winning record and really starting to turn this thing around.
Cole, you've got the number 6 recruiting class, high school recruiting class in the country, and then you pair it with the number 7, I believe, number 7 transfer portal class Auburn has brought in. Cole, what's your take on this transfer portal?
Well, first of all, you're talking about the halves. You know, you're putting a new half of the roster in there with new players. The half you kept is good.
Yeah,
did good things. So you're adding on, the number 6 in high school, number 7 in the transfer portal. You're adding that in, man. I mean, I was talking about this with a buddy. Like the roster talent gap, I really think it's as close as it's been with your Alabamas, with your Georgias. Now, I actually think that your Ohio States and your maybe Texas have gone maybe a step further, or maybe Georgia and Alabama have come down a step. I'm not sure. I haven't decided yet what it is.
A lot more parity at the top.
There is. I you know how I am about the 12-team playoff. I think they got it right. Those 4 teams, that's what it needs to look like. That's what your roster needs to look like, those 4 teams.
Yeah.
We haven't used the term layered depth in a long time because it's like, that's kind of old school. It's not really the way it is anymore. But I think those teams have achieved it pretty well. And they didn't have a lot of roster turnover. They weren't losing their top guys over and over. They weren't having to go, okay, this eval didn't work. Let's move on from this, try a new one. They got it layered for the most part. It's as good as you can get it in today's football, I think. And that's where Auburn's starting to get to. It's getting closer. I think you are, I would say, one step away, one class away from getting it to where it is absolutely where it needs to be. But right now you're good enough to win enough and keep moving here.
Fellas, before we get to the questions from the corner, I don't know if this is going to be asked or not, but we've seen Auburn bring in 17. They've signed 16 transfers. What do you think is left? What do you think is left on the defensive side of the ball? And this is just knowing what we know now. Like it's going to change after the spring if more Auburn players leave, and that's to be expected. But as it stands now, what do we think is still left to fill the needs on offense, on defense? Alan, what do you think on defense?
On defense, I think it's the interior defensive line, right? That is really the spot that Auburn needs some additional help. And it's kind of why when people ask, like, hey, what do you predict this year from Auburn? Well, the roster's not done yet with anybody. And so it's hard to kind of get into like, yeah, I can see 9 games, so on and so forth. Because when you have a need like interior defensive line, that's something I need to see Auburn feel to feel comfortable about what they're capable of moving forward. But I think that's the biggest glaring need to me. I think you can always add pass rushers. If you can find another pass rusher that can create negative plays for you, chaos plays, that's big. Probably a linebacker too. I think inside linebacker, that Mike backer, they run a lot of sub package where they have 5 DBs and they feature a star. So you don't necessarily carry as many as you used to maybe 20 years ago, but you still need a veteran, in my opinion, to help some of this young talent come along. And you have a lot of really good pieces, but there's not a ton of it with experience. And to me, when you don't have a lot of experience, you just don't know what to expect. It could be great. It could be terrible. It could be somewhere in between, but kind of mitigating error there as best you can. I think adding a veteran to help that group would be a really smart and savvy move by the staff.
We know Auburn tried to add another linebacker. They missed out on Jeremiah Alexander. They missed out on, was that Jeremiah Alexander? Was he the middle guy that they missed out on?
Yes, from Alabama. Absolutely.
So they tried to add a middle backer. He went to Clemson. They tried to add Jeffrey Imba. He ended up at SMU. So we know that they were trying to fill at least those 2 spots. Whether they add another DB, I think, depends on the spring. another rush. They added Chris Murray. Will they try to add another pass rusher if they get that chance? Those are kind of the three spots that we're really keeping an eye on as it stands now. Cole, as far as the offense goes, Auburn added 2 quarterbacks, added another Tanner Bailey transfer, added a running back, wide receivers, a tight end, 2 tackles. What do you think's left on the offensive side of the ball, transfer portal wise, as it stands now?
I see another tight end. I think an inline tight end, a blocker type is something they need to get or probably want to get. I think I wouldn't put it past them to get another interior offensive lineman. I think that's on the table. I think Mason Murphy and Xavier Chaplin are both tackles for sure, obviously. One interior guy, I think.
Yeah. And a tight end.
And a tight end.
And maybe
a receiver.
Maybe that's still on the table too, because you did lose Sam Jackson late.
If it's the right guy, I mean, look, we saw them offer Caden Robinson from App State. That guy's good. Okay, he's really good. That's a good receiver. That's not we need more in the room. I need that guy on my roster.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
he can play.
If the right kind of guy comes out like that, then yeah, any of these positions are probably open. But it is interesting that when you look at the wide receiver room altogether, you go, it could really use one more, honestly.
If nothing else, than to take some practice reps and
or get a youngster, go find a youngster or something like that. It doesn't have to be an immediate guy. You know what I mean?
I thought as far as acquisition, we've talked about that, and we probably get into it more. But Cole, you made a post Tuesday on the corner. I thought retention was just as important for Auburn as acquisition was this portal cycle. Amaris Williams went in or flirted with going in. We heard rumors of Perry Thompson. We heard rumors of others, but Auburn didn't really lose. And I think, Alan, you made a post about this maybe Monday, that of the guys that Auburn lost, who ended up where you went, oh, man, I mean, Percy Lewis, God bless him, ended up at Ole Miss somehow. I think TJ Lindsey ended up at
Purdue.
Yes.
Purdue. Walker White ended up at Baylor.
That's a good move.
That was a good move. But I mean, did they lose? They obviously gained a lot more than they lost.
And I think that speaks to Auburn and how they've kind of attacked this NIL era, right? They have decided we're not going to lose valuable pieces on our roster. OTV has done a great job from this standpoint. Now things are going to change because we're going to more of a revenue share model. And some of what you saw, like teams like Texas Tech, I think they decided to empty out their collective to a degree.
Hey, Zach, can you share my screen real quick?
And they went all in.
There you go. Here are the guys that Auburn lost. Alan, keep talking. I'm just going to.
I think Auburn attacked it in a way that made sense. And they decided that retention on the roster, because again, you talked about it, Jeffrey. Who did we lose that was somebody that you just looked at and said, we cannot afford to lose this piece? Now, Morris Williams, to me, that probably would have been the one, right? Like if you lost that one,
no doubt. That stings.
That one stings. That's a 2-deep player for you. As much as I like Walker White, and I think he's going to be a heck of a quarterback, Walker White was likely not going to be in the 2-deep next year for Auburn.
Right.
I will say the one young guy, and here he is right here, Deron Reed.
Deron Reed, yeah.
Deron Reed, I would have liked to seen him stay. Just for future.
Where'd he go? Mississippi State? Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm. Mississippi State.
Caleb Wooden, Arkansas. That's a nice move.
Caleb Wooden to Arkansas.
Sam Jackson to Oklahoma State's a good move. I mean, those are some good moves.
Went to Houston to be with Zach.
Yeah. And I'm not saying these guys aren't talented. They are.
E.J. Harris.
Significantly more talented than I ever thought about being. But I think when you're looking at players like this that didn't really produce last year and they're going to other Power 4 programs, it kind of speaks to like what the portal was this past cycle. I just don't think there was a lot of top echelon talent. And Auburn did a really great job, I think, of getting some of those top pieces that were available. They really did. And whether it's people being able to retain more because the revenue share is coming, so there are more teams that have access to money than ever before, whether it was agents that were predetermining deals, and that's a huge piece of the transfer portal that people don't talk about enough, is the evolution of the agent in that space. It has changed things. I would not want to be Hugh Freeze and having some of those conversations, but I don't think those earth-shattering names that we're accustomed to. There wasn't a Caleb Williams in the portal this year, right?
Right.
I mean, as good as Carson Beck is, he's not Caleb Williams. Let's just be honest here.
I mean,
Who was the Mateer the featured dog of the portal?
I'd say Mateer.
I think he was the best quarterback for sure.
Carson Beck really doesn't. I mean, he had a no contact tag. He was committed the next day. It almost like it didn't even count that he was in the portal. In a way, it was done. I want to make sure I'm clear on that post, by the way, Jeffrey, that I put up there, because when you post your thoughts on things, it can be taken so many ways. I've learned that
context matters, and I think clarifying is always good, right?
You get it, Alan. You get it. The point I'm trying to drive home here is I think Auburn's got a new recruiting pitch that's going to be great for this 2026 class and beyond from there. Not only did you keep the guys you wanted to keep, okay, let's just put it out there, okay? You're not keeping the guys you want to keep if the money is not right, if the NIL is not right, okay? I believe that is true. The guy may love being there. The guy may love the culture. If some school is offering him, $1 million more than what you're able to do, or maybe, there's cases that it's not like that, but we're just talking majority here. It's probably going to go bad for you. I think Auburn handled their business. And it shows the young kids like, I'm going to be taken care of at Auburn. You know what I mean? I just think that's a really good sign.
And I agree with that. And I think when I asked her, and Jeffrey, I want your input here because I think you're as tied in as anybody on this, but I don't think Auburn had to pay top dollar to retain every player on their roster either. I think this coaching staff did a good job of having honest conversations, and they have built relationships over time. And I think a lot of these kids don't want to leave so long as you're ballpark with what they're being offered or the conversations that they're having.
Sure. It doesn't have to be more always, as long as you're close.
Right.
I spoke to an Auburn club over here at Robertson Jones Monday night, and that was one of the things that I really harped on. The relationship part, Hugh Freeze and Hugh Freeze's staff have built such good relationships. They're such relationship guys when it comes to recruiting, and that matters. Maybe not on the front end, but it matters more on the back end. So now you're talking about, Cole, a Perry Thompson coming to you and saying, "Hey, man, I really want to play here. I really like you guys. I trust you guys. That's why I came here. Just make it fair for me." Or and maybe Perry Thompson's not a great example of that, but hey, they're offering me more, but I really want to be here. Appease me.
Yeah. What can you do? Can we be ballpark on this, right?
Right.
Well, another angle is, they may look at it. Other schools maybe want to start tampering with somebody. They look at a guy at Auburn and go, he just looks like he's taken care of. I don't know if we want to go there. We'll stay away.
Sure.
Well, that's why relationships still matter.
They do.
If it was all about the money, man, you would lose a lot more than you would win.
I hear you, and I think.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to say it's all about the money. I hope it doesn't come across that.
No,
way.
I didn't feel you talking about that.
You got to have the culture and all that for them to want to stay. I just know, as unfortunate as it may be for fans, that is the reality of our situation now of college football. You got to make sure that part is taken care of.
Sure.
And I believe Auburn's they've obviously done a great job of that. The evidence says they have.
Yeah.
They've kept the ones they wanted to keep.
Yes. And Cole, you're not lying. It's a more transactional sport than it ever has been, right? With greater dollar figures than it's ever been. All that being said, to Jeffrey's point, and I think you're saying the same thing, I think the relationship part of it, especially these kids, as much as people want to say this is pro sports, these are still 18 to 22-year-old kids most of the time, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them get in a place and they don't want to leave because their friends are there. Their parents are comfortable. They know, what I mean? There's still a lot of that maturation process that's happening right now for these kids. And yes, the dollar figures matter. They do. But I think there are other things that matter to these guys as well, and Auburn's doing good on both of those fronts, right? They're handling the relational side, and the monetary piece is also there, and that is a compliment, again, to OTV, and I think even
Yes.
some of Auburn's administration that's gonna be involved more in this rev share moving forward and kind of how they're deciding to divvy up this pie, so to speak.
Relationships are almost like a coupon. I've got such a good relationship with this wide receiver that he wants to play for me. I can get him at a discount because
Right.
we have this relationship. That relationship, they're like coupons, man. And Auburn building that in the high school ranks from the 9th and 10th grade on, especially now that Auburn's been here, the staff has been here for 2.5. Is it 2.5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
2.5 years. So I think those coupons are turning into very good deals for Auburn and being able to have that retention that they need.
And
I
I'll tell you
agree.
one more thing too. I know we need to get into questions, but talking to Kamarian Mari is what he goes by, Johnson, who you should probably get familiar with, edge from Muscle Shoals. So an in-state guy just got an offer from Auburn, was talking to him, and he almost was like, I mean, when I asked him, where does Auburn stand for you? What does it mean to get this offer? Is this a big deal? Well, I mean, you know what they do in state was kind of the answer from him.
Oh, wow.
You know how they do that.
They
So,
notice that stuff, don't they?
yeah, it's like I said, it's not just the money, it's not just the culture, it's not just the comfortability, it's a combination of all of those things.
Sure.
And it's not easy to obtain. And I think the staff in 2.5 years is to that point where they are able to do this, and it's why they have success recruiting. Now, dang it, you got to go win on the field.
Absolutely. It
Please,
doesn't matter.
I'm begging you at this point because you've got what you need.
No, I agree. And I think they've done it the right way because there are teams to me that have tried to build programs out of the portal. And I think this new rev share situation is swinging the pendulum on that. I believe Auburn has built it out of high school and they filled pieces through the portal.
Yeah.
I think retention is going to continue to get easier and easier with only if it stays a capped rev share, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have to explain outside in the NIL to an arbitrator, which is the situation they're moving into.
Sure.
And how to justify that. I think teams are going to be scared in the first couple years of this situation because they don't want to lose a kid. Say you promise $500,000 to a kid that's coming from the collective and $500,000 is coming from rev share. And then all of a sudden that arbitrator determines that $500,000 from the collective, he can't do that because that's not his market value or he's not fulfilling what it would take for that $500K.
Oh.
Well, have you now lost that kid because you're not paying him money that was owed? So I think they're going to be teams that are going to be kind of leaning more into the rev share piece of this and kind of how they handle things, and they'll feel it out with the arbitrator to a degree. But when you've got a cap on things, it makes it easier to retain players, especially if you're already paying them a pretty large amount.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Let's get us some questions from the corner. We've talked about what we wanted to talk about. Let's see what the other folks want us to talk about. Oh, Smoking Joe AU. What do you think will be the top 3 position groups as far as need and priority for 2026? Fantastic question to get us started on this.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Biggest position groups, fellas, the biggest needs this year for Auburn's 2026 class. I think wide receivers back on the board. I think Auburn could look to add another big class like they did 2 years ago.
Agreed.
I'm looking at the positions that they seem to still be having to go heavy on in the portal.
Offensive line, yeah.
Offensive line,
edge, D-line. Maybe those 3 is where I'd start. Trenches. Obviously, I'm always about that.
I was going to say offensive line, defensive line are always in my top 2.
Well,
yes.
It's the hardest to get the layered depth like we were talking about, and I do still think that is obtainable. I still think that is a goal. So always, until you're able to get that where you're not having to go get 3 to 4 guys at those positions in the portal, that's going to be your emphasis.
I'm thinking about what were the biggest position groups in this 2025 class, and I'm probably going to rank them at the bottom. Like DB, I think they were on the verge of signing 6 or 7. They might have ended up with 5.
Yeah,
because the kid, Shador, what's his name? Not Shador. Shamar decommitted.
Oh yeah,
He did.
Naeem went to Oregon, and I think that would have been 7 if Naeem would have came. And Shamar.
You're counting all DBs, safeties, corners.
Yeah.
All right. So Fagans, Winters, Blake Woodby, Donovan Starr. Let's see, Devin Williams,
Buford kid. There was one more.
That's it.
No, 5. Yeah, there you go. 5.
Bryce Diaz is a linebacker.
Right. So I think Smoke and Joe, we're starting in the trenches. I think there will be a big defensive line class, a big offensive line, and a big defensive line had a big class this past year too.
Huge class, and that's why, obviously for the portal, defensive line 3 technique especially it's real thin. You got to go get somebody. You want to get to a point where you're not doing that. You have to bridge the gap for that group. You can't just throw them into the fire. Like they're going to be thrown into the fire, but you can't just, hey, you're the guy at 3 right now. That's not the right strategy. So you want to get out of that, right, to where you're bringing them in every year.
No, I agree, and I think you're close, right? Hugh Freeze has talked about this continuously now, that he needed 3 full recruiting classes of the caliber of player that he wants to recruit. And I don't believe, even though he got some great kids like Connor Lew,
Keldrick, Kayan,
Jeremiah, all those guys, those are core guys, but I don't know that they're necessarily that he counts that class as one of the 3 that he's talking about and needing to acquire. So I think you've done the last little bit of patchwork that you need to do, but you're right, Cole. You're very close. If you can retain what you have on the roster, you're very close to layered depth. But again, positions top 3 for me: offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver. Those are the 3 to me, where there's going to be enough turnover, natural attrition already before transfer portal is even involved, where I think you're going to need to make sure that you're replacing quality bodies, and those are positions that you got to do it. And then quarterback's obviously important every year, right? You want to land a good signal caller every year to build your class around. Whether it's an immediate need or not, that is a focal point of every class of what quarterback's going to be there, because you typically build around that.
Carterman 427. If you could pick one of Bryce Perry Wright, Ernest Rankins, Vodney Cleveland, and Aiden Harris to be the best fit for our D line, which of those would you pick and why? This is a good group.
They all fit. That's the tough part.
I will admit I haven't watched as much of Aiden Harris as the other 3. I need to look at him a little bit more, but I'm a huge Bryce Perry Wright fan.
I was going to say him, Cole, because you need an impact 3, and I think he's an undersized impact 3.
He's perfect.
He is. Well, I love Vodney Cleveland too, but
I do too.
You're deeper at the nose, and that's why I'm leaning the other way.
I agree. I was about to say, I think nose is getting to where you want it. 3 is still trying to get that right. So even though, even if everything was how it's supposed to be, I might still go Bryce Perry Wright.
Bryce Perry Wright, Vodney Cleveland decommitted from Alabama.
Yes.
And Auburn's got a good shot with all 4 of these guys. Curious to see how that defensive line, we know how Montrell King Williams has been recruiting. Fantastic job. J Culture AU. Who do you believe are the 3 most likely? No, I'm sorry. Are the next 3 likely to commit to Auburn in the 2026 class? Anybody on the verge?
Yeah. I'd probably keep an eye on Anthony Davis, the linebacker
from Grayson.
Yeah,
that's a good call, Cole.
Say him.
How about the Henderson kid from Pensacola?
Yes, Trent Henderson, 100%.
Maybe an in-state guy?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Landon Duckworth.
Oh.
Because I think if they decide to push for a quarterback, I think he's the one that's most likely to jump in the class sooner rather than later. So if I'm playing my odds,
I like that.
I'm going to go with Landon Duckworth.
Y'all think Cedarian Morgan's taking his time with this thing?
I do too.
That's what I'm getting from it right now. Although I have an Auburn pick. I still feel pretty good about that. I'm gonna hang on to that.
Right now. I do too. I think that's a good pick. I like Auburn with Marquez Daniel as well. Don't forget the 4-star wide receiver from Tuskegee.
I'm kind of wait and see on him, but I do think Auburn's going to push for him. It may not be today. It may be today. I think
I
they
thought
like
it was. I thought it was telling Marcus Davis the first two stops he made when the coaches could start going out last week were Sadarian Morgan and Marquez Daniel.
Yes.
Those were his first two stops, and I know those two guys. That's why I'm thinking. That big wide receiver class of 2024 had 4 guys in it. I think this 2026 class is going to mirror that. In that you've got Denarius Gray committed. You've got now big time Devin Carter committed this past weekend.
huge.
You get Marquez Daniel. You get Sadarian Morgan, and God bless America. I mean, and who was the who's the other?
Look, I mean, Aaron Gregory, Bubba Frazier is a guy.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, you probably should keep an eye on that guy. I don't know how many they want, and it's not. I'm not saying it's a done deal with Sadarian Morgan by any means. I mean, Oregon, Ohio State. You got
Sure.
those.
Oh, he's not. Yeah, he's going to be big time. He's going to be big time. He's going to be as big as Perry Thompson and maybe Cam Coleman. I thought Cam was a little bit more national than Perry just because Perry was committed to Alabama early, but Sadarian's going to be national guy. And
Yes.
But that wide receiver room is stacked.
It's a big class. It's a very talented wide receiver class. 2026 is.
And they didn't add. They added Sam Turner.
Yes.
And Derek Smith. Derek's not going to be ready. He's too raw. He's a very, very good athlete, but he's not going to be ready. And Sam, believe it or not, I think is much more polished, at least from the folks that I talked to. Like, if anybody's going to make an impact at wide receiver as a true freshman in 2025, it's going to be Sam Turner. He's just
I agree.
You remember how Shedrick Jackson, he wasn't real flashy and stuff, but man, he was precise.
Boy, that's a great comparison, Jeffrey. Dang.
Just precise.
That's
perfect. Everything he does. Yes.
I couldn't come up with a good one for him. That's perfect.
See, for me, I saw Darvin Adams with him, but I agree with you on the polish aspect for him, and I think he is a kid. When Cole and I did our breakdown, and that was what I put as I thought he would be a kid that would play sooner than the other guys. Even though Derek, to me, was a higher value, I honestly still think he's going to end up on the defensive side of the ball at some point. I just think his athleticism is going to take him there. I don't think that's what Marcus wants to do. I don't think that's what Hugh wants to do. I just think in my heart that kid is a defensive back at the next level, and kids like that have a way sometimes of changing positions.
And if that's the case, if that's even on the table, as Cole would say, you've brought in one wide receiver in the 2025 recruiting class. So how much more important is that position in 2026? That's what I could see is at least 4, at least 2 more. And hold on to Denarius Gray, hold on to Devin Carter, add 2 more, maybe. You're not going to turn down any of those great ones we've talked about.
No, I don't think you turn them down at all. If you can get them all, you get them all. Make it work.
It's a deeper national class than it was last year. Last year, there were some good ones at the top, but it wasn't an overly deep wide receiver class, in my opinion. This one is much deeper, and Auburn has done a better job with the targets that are on their board, in my opinion, early on.
And you've also got a chance to strike while the iron is hot. You've got immediate quarterback to sell in Jackson Arnold.
Yes.
And you've also got Deuce Knight sitting there, presumably red shirt, who's got 4 more years. You're selling him to them.
Yes.
In addition to whomever you might add for the 2026 class. So this was Hugh Freeze is fantastic about taking advantage of the opportunities presented to him. In-state recruiting, when you got Kalen DeBoer and them with their focus on the West Coast, you've got Hugh Freeze going, well, we're going to wrap up the state. Alabama signed 0 top 10 in-state guys this year. Never heard of that before in my life.
Jeffrey, I saw that today. I was like, just kind of combing back through the top 10. It's like, oh my God. There
0.
were 8 to Auburn in the top 10, 2 to teams in Ohio State and Oregon.
Can you believe that?
No. And the number 1 player they signed, and this is not an Alabama podcast by any means, but was number 14 in the in-state rankings. 14.
Well, it's relevant. It's very relevant, if you ask me.
And Cole, just like you talked about when you talked to that kid up in Muscle Shoals. I mean, they noticed that.
They do.
It's the cool place to go right now. Hugh Freeze takes advantage of opportunities, and when you've got quarterback play like they have, at least on paper, right now, Deuce Knight on paper looks fantastic.
Yeah,
to wide receivers.
To take some words from our friend Keith Niebuhr, Hugh Freeze and Auburn, they're no dummies, right? They know what it does when you get those in-state players. The next ones go, oh, so that's the place.
Yeah. That's the move, Cole. That's what they
That's the
say.
move.
That's
I'm
the move.
sorry.
And it's also easier to retain those kids. They're at home. Again,
Yes.
you're talking about making them comfortable. I know, look, Alabama's recruited the West Coast, national, what have you. In this era,
The wave. Sorry, Zach.
in this era, dude, it's to me, it makes so much more to recruit regionally, to retain that talent. It just
The
makes it
closer,
easier.
the better.
Yes, because there's not that draw to need to come back home to play, right?
Yeah.
It's a risk going out to California. I know when Auburn would, cherry pick out in California or whatever, Utah, and it rarely works out, man. It
Well,
rarely
they have
works
offered
out.
a lot of quarterbacks from California. I realized that when I was putting together that list the other day.
Yeah, that's Jesse Stone and Kent Austin, and they've
Yeah.
got some ties out there on that West Coast, and they're trying to get those guys, and
Hey,
they've got several.
They were close with Husan Longstreet. I mean, it
Very
was real
close. Let's see. Hard, freeze warning. How many top 10 prospects in Alabama does Auburn sign this class? I haven't seen. There you go, Zach in the back. I hear you, big dog.
Look at you.
Let me pull this up. All right, CD Morgan. I think that's Tank at the top. Here we go. Now I can see.
Yep.
Yeah, Tank Jones.
That's going to be the battle there. I think that's going to be a tough battle.
Me too.
I agree.
I right now, man, 50-50 at best for Tank Jones, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I might even go 45, 55.
Me too. Me too. I thought he would be at the junior day on January 25. He tells me he will not. So I don't know why, but let's see. So Auburn has 1, 2. Who's below Toodle, Zach? You've got 2. Anybody else in the top 10 committed already? Yeah, there's 3. Okay, Marquez Daniel. My opinion is 4. Landon Duckworth. Allen's got him in the class. That's 5. I don't think Jacquez Wilkes ends up at Auburn.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm thinking Tennessee or A&M. I think Tennessee on that one. I've heard a lot about them.
Vodney could very well end up at Auburn.
I think he does.
Think
Now,
so.
where I say I might favor Tank Jones to Alabama at this point, I favor Vodney Cleveland to Auburn in that same situation. And I know he was committed to Alabama, but things just, from what I've asked around on, it just feels Auburn on that one.
Of these 10, now in-state rankings will change, but I think of these 10, at least 6. Auburn wins the majority. I think Auburn wins at the end of the day when you say, hey, here's where the top 10 players win. I think Auburn's going to have the most. So I would say at least 6 right now.
And I'll say, you know how it is. Auburn knows how it is
guys.
with a new staff, right? Auburn fans know what it's like to start over and try to rebuild relationships.
Yes.
So I'll give Kalen DeBoer, because we were just talking about that. Now that they're getting into the next class, you see they got Zion Gibson committed. They're in it with Sadarian Morgan. They're definitely in it with Tank Jones.
Had Vodney Cleveland committed.
They had to get their feet under them, just to be fair here.
Of course.
And
It's all Freddie Roach. It's a lot of Freddie Roach.
Yeah, it is.
I do. I think it's going to be tougher to land as many as you landed last time. I think Bama's going to be more of a threat now.
I would agree with that. This one thing for me is it feels like if Auburn's going to beat Alabama, this is the kind of year that it could happen in. And if that happens, what kind of windfall with Hugh Freeze and his ability to sell. And look, I firmly believe that Hugh Freeze could sell a Bible to Jesus. Okay. Like I'm just on that train, but give him a win against Alabama, that proof of concept and his ability to sell. Hey, the proverbial tide has turned.
Yeah. This is the year, man.
I think that number could grow from 6. And I'm with you. I would favor 6 at the moment, but I think that number could grow from 6 if you have that kind of proof of concept moment.
I like it. Good question. Let's see. Lance HPG, which members of the 2024 signing class who did not see much playing time last year, this is a good question, will take a big step forward this upcoming season? So we're talking guys like Joe Phillips. We're talking Perry Thompson. We're talking the middle linebacker from Chalkville.
Yeah, DJ Barber.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking
Bryce Kane
for sure.
Yeah.
Trying to go back through position groups. I don't see anybody in
DeAndre Carter. I think he's an opportunity to move into the 2 deep and push at that interior offensive line position.
Very much.
Let me pull up the commitment list. That'll help us out, not look so stupid.
I'll
Joe
say
Phillips.
my mind went to Joe Phillips. That's where my mind went.
I'm interested to see where he plays. I know that friend of the show, Jason Caldwell, has mentioned he thinks there's a possibility that Joe could move back to linebacker
Sure.
because of his skill set. I think he's a natural edge.
Oh, how about a Morris?
A Morris, that's a huge one because you're banking on that kid being in your 2 deep right now.
I feel like he broke in enough to where I wasn't thinking of him.
Yeah, I hear you. Jamonte Waller.
Waller.
That's
He's coming
another one.
off of an injury, so it might be a slow go at first, but we'll see. Perry Thompson, obviously.
Yes. Let's see. There's your Carter.
Mm-hmm.
Amon got in some last. I just don't see him.
See, I wasn't thinking Kinsley Faustin either because he played some very good, some big snaps.
There's your boy Favor.
Yes.
Kind of quiet with him in it. Yeah.
And I think I still like the upside
Look
for
at
him.
the retention of this class. Look at the retention of this class.
Oh, I know.
Look at how many guys actually that you can't even qualify for this question
because they've already played so much.
Yeah.
At least 9, right?
TJ Lindsey, Laquan Robinson of the high school guys that have, and Walker.
Yeah.
3 guys.
I tell you what, it shocked me the other day seeing that Quan landed at Kansas.
Yeah.
But good for him.
They probably know Kansas knows JUCO football. They probably remember him from JUCO.
That's true.
I would think so. And look, that kid's talented.
He is.
He's not untalented by any means.
He was the number 1 JUCO safety for a reason. He was good.
If it was like 15, 20 years ago, Laquan Robinson's junior Rose Green, man.
You would think. I mean,
when you can run a 4.6 and 4.7 and just kill people.
I'm not saying Junior ran it. Junior's probably faster than that. I'm just trying to say he's a throwback, knock your head off kind of guy. You know,
I was excited to see him play, to be honest with you.
I was too.
Did he get moved to linebacker for a bit?
Did.
Okay.
He did. They played him at that dime backer / money backer position, contingent on what sub package they're in.
Yeah.
And he just, he was kind of buried. Look, there was a lot of talent at that position this year.
It's hard to make a move like that and expect to play. You got to learn that position. You got to learn a lot of things over again. So understandable. And I understand him. Let's see here. JMK, fantastic poster, by the way.
Yes.
JMK 205. In the 2026 class, it appears Auburn is well positioned at both wide receiver and edge. Yeah, I agree. Man, those 2 positions look fantastic right now. Yeah, how many do they plan to take at each position? Who are the guys they take regardless of numbers? Numbers is fluid, but we do expect a big wide receiver class, as we talked about earlier. I would say at least 4 at wide receiver.
I mean, listen, as long as he freezes at Auburn, it's going to be a big receiver class.
And again, you got to strike while the iron is hot. You got Deuce Knight in the dugout. What do you call it? In the shadows.
In the on deck circle.
On deck, whatever. Yeah, he's on deck. He's on Hudson. Yuck.
Oh, dude. How long has Jeffrey been waiting to slide that one in?
I've been holding on that one. How many do they play? Each position edge. With you got Hezekiah Harris, and look, Rock Bellantoni's all over this already, dude. He's been here for like a week.
Yeah.
You got. We talked about Tank. We talked about Henderson from Pensacola. The kid Zion Ely is coming down from Maryland.
Yes.
You've got the kid I talked to. Who did I talk to? Campbell. There's a Campbell kid. I forgot where he's from. I just wrote a story about him.
Jordan Carter.
The Miami commitment.
Jordan
Carter, yes.
Yeah.
He's an A&M commit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Jordan Campbell from Miami.
Yes.
Don't forget about Andrew Harris. The twin brother of Aiden. I think Auburn went to see the twins here this past week.
Okay.
And I know at one point there was a lot of talk around those two. I'm starting to hear a little bit more about them in Auburn again.
Good. I checked on them about 2 weeks ago back during portal visits, and there was still some confidence there. And they were going to commit twice.
Yes.
They were going to commit right after they visited, and then they were going to commit. They didn't. And then they were going to commit the next week. They didn't. And as we all know, that typically doesn't bode well. But so I checked in, and there was, Auburn still felt pretty good about them.
Yeah.
So there you go, Cole. Keep an eye on those cats, JMK. Let's go. Good stuff. Logan, will we get any commitments from junior day, including the week after? I think you've got to do that now, Logan. I'm glad you acknowledged that. So let's put the over under. I think somebody, who was it? I meant to go back and answer this question. It was in my junior visitor list, but he put the over under at 1.5. I'm going to move it to 2.5.
Okay. Okay.
I'm going to move it to 2.5.
I would take the under.
Okay. I'm talking about from January 25th. I'll say January 24th because Hugh Freeze might throw one in just to get the weekend started.
I see.
Yeah.
So let's say 24th through the end of the month, 24th through the 31st.
Okay.
2.5 over and under.
I'm going to go under, but slightly. Like
Yeah,
I feel good on one.
I'm under as of today, but as it gets closer, I mean, there's some buzz building with it. So
I'm at 2.
Okay.
I was going to take over 1.5 and under 2.5. I'm at 2.
Okay. I trust you on that. Yeah, I think your intel's better than mine at this point. I'm still trying.
Hey, listen, excuse me. It's not like they've got some banked that they're waiting on. I don't know.
No, I just think you have a better feel for this class than I do at the point I need to get my arms wrapped around it a little bit.
I hear you. I'm only about 2 weeks ahead of you. I couldn't do 26s until everything was over with, dude. My mind just can't work that way.
I know.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
So many things. So, all right, Jared Nelson, Jared _Nelson 11. Which quarterback in this class do you think would fit Hugh Freeze's offense best? Auburn obviously is. I tell you what, they just offered that kid that's committed to Houston who was really good.
That's an interesting fit.
Henderson.
He was actually good. Yeah, he was actually who I was going to say. Him and Landon Duckworth are the two to me. If you're talking about Hugh's offense, man.
You have some guys that fit. It doesn't matter what the offense is. To me, that's Ryder Lyons and Jared Curtis.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. And they love Jared Curtis. They love Jared Curtis.
Absolutely. I don't know if they're going to get Jared Curtis, but, I mean, there's no point in not trying. He's definitely listening. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I'm with y'all there. Henderson or Duckworth. Give me either one of those two.
I like Henderson. Henderson's interesting.
He is.
But again, Ryder Lyons, I honestly think from the people I talked to, I think Ryder Lyons he's the grand slam.
Yeah.
And I think, of course, I don't think they have he's visited, but I don't know that I would say that Auburn has a legit shot with him. I'd be surprised if he comes back. Let's put it that way.
Me too.
All right, Jay Galloway, if you had to make a bold prediction as of today on either 5-star or high 4-star that will sign with Auburn and would contribute day one from the 2026 class, who would it be? Bold prediction. I'm going to make a bold prediction. Shit, that would be Zion Ely.
Oh, dude, you just stole mine. Damn, Jeffrey. Come on.
The beach is that way.
Okay.
I wasn't thinking that.
I was St. Francis.
How about Nacho?
Iheanacho?
Emmanuel Iheanacho, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna say stay safe.
Couldn't get past that first half goal.
Yeah.
I finished strong with Nacho, but I couldn't get that first half.
Same school, different player, Jair Edwards. Because I think I'm interested to see if Eric Winter stays at safety.
Oh, you're talking about Jaira.
Is it Jaira Edwards?
Yeah.
I think Jaira could be a nice running mate in the back end for Fegans.
He's good.
Does Eric put on weight and move to linebacker? That's one I'm watching because I think he's the kind of kid that could come in and play sooner rather than later. So same school, different kid, but I like your pick, Jeffrey. I think Zion Ely, and I do believe they have a legitimate shot there.
Me too. And here's another one. And you talked about this earlier. You said 45. I think it's actually a bold prediction to predict Tank Jones.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, signing with Auburn. I think that's pretty bold, and I think he's a 5-star guy who.
I thought about Tank Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking offense though.
Okay.
So Derek Cooper, give me Derek Cooper.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hear you, man. I like that.
Sean Covers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look, Auburn's got Shaman Madonna. They've had a little bit of success there. Obviously, Denarius Gray got him committed.
Yep.
So, which I checked on, and sounds like things are going well with Denarius Gray.
That is a school that Rock is very familiar with in Chaminade Madonna and that South Florida footprint. That's one he's connected to. So I think his addition is big there.
I like Auburn at that school. I like the connections that Auburn has, and I think holding on to Denarius Gray has always been a high priority. And man, he's getting offers. He got Ohio State last week,
big time. He's big time.
and he's still, he committed a freaking year ago,
He really did. I mean,
January the 1st.
Yeah, you know what? Because I was at a friend's house watching
54 weeks.
I was watching the Alabama-Michigan game. So
Yeah.
that was how long ago was that? The playoff game or whatever
It was 54 weeks ago.
Yeah. I was like, hey man, I gotta go get my computer real quick. Auburn just got
Yeah. I think I ran down from a tree stand or something. AF Auburn. Seems like there are a lot of guys visiting from Florida. Absolutely. Is that due to Rock Bellantoni already recruiting them, or Auburn wanting to prioritize Florida players? We talked about this on the call-in show the other night, that there was only one signee from the state of Florida in Auburn's 2025 class, and that's just it's abnormal. It's abnormal traditionally, historically, for Auburn to not dip into Florida for more. And to be honest with you, there were a couple of guys that they targeted and got on campus and were in on. But mostly it was, all Alabama. It was Georgia. It was Mississippi.
Yeah.
It was Tennessee. We didn't see a big footprint, a push for Florida players. Do you think that changes with Rock Bellantoni? And you can go look at the junior day visitor list and see that absolutely it's already instantly changed.
Yeah, and I think you go where your connections are, right? Like Auburn took an influx of kids from Maryland. They took 3 from Maryland last year, and typically you would have seen that three number would have come from the state of Florida, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you recruit to where your connections are, but I do believe that Auburn has always wanted to be there. I think Hugh Freeze will put a focus on that state, but having Rock, again, is somebody who's connected in that state, who knows the 7-on coach. Because sometimes it's not about the interest of the kid, it's getting the kid there, right? Finding a ride for him, doing all those other things that you need to do. Do you know the high school coach enough to leverage that relationship to get in to bring the kid? Do you know the 7-on coach? Do you know the uncle? Who do you know that can help you in that recruitment? Just get them on campus to get your foot in the door. And I think that's an invaluable part that Rock brings to this program.
I think the state of Florida is loaded this year. Absolutely loaded, jam-packed. I don't know. I'm not saying it wasn't last year, but I mean,
you're paying attention a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because of this.
Offensive lineman. I mean, Johnny Jones, a guy that I talked to the other day. You have Deron Parks, who they just offered.
Yeah.
I talked to Adam, Balagoun Ali, a linebacker from there.
That's exactly how you pronounce it.
I was running it by you because
you got my blessing, big dog.
Okay,
Jeffrey said that's what I said.
Jordan Campbell, Jake Cruel, that's an edge D-line guy they love. Trenton Henderson, Derek Cooper, Diabell.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy's
Oh yeah, he's great. He's a good one.
Is he committed?
Yes, Texas. Sark did a good job of wrapping that one up.
You know what? Everybody kept saying that they don't understand why KJ Lacey's coming to Texas or whatever. It makes more sense. I just think KJ Lacey's good, y'all.
Me too, dude.
I think he's good. I've been saying that for a long time. I like the fit for Auburn, whatever. But, I mean, obviously Deuce Knight was a great pickup. I'm not saying anything there. Just, now that you've watched postseason All-American games, does anybody have a different opinion on KJ Lacey? That guy's pretty good.
He's really good. I like him a lot. Always have. All right. Well, let's fantastic questions, man. Really good. Kind of a lap. I think they had an hour and a half because we moved the recording of the show up, so didn't have a lot of time to put the question out. But man, fantastic job, fellas. Yeah. Fantastic job. Let's get to some how about yous. Right. I've got 4. I'll tell you what, I've got 5.
I got a bunch, Jeffrey. I told you we're going to divvy them out a little bit. Okay. So I'll only do 4 today.
All right.
I got 2.
Okay, let's start with Cole's 4.
All right. Millwood.
Got you.
Millwood, he gets one because, man, he made the statement that I've been trying to say to people who complain about the playoff and all this. He said, guys, I will never turn down more football. Are you suggesting we want less football? What is the deal here? I am so on board with that he deserves a how about you.
How about you, Millwood?
Braden.
Okay.
Our Selma affiliate.
Sure.
Braeden. You remember the play in the Penn State Notre Dame game where the guy slipped down in coverage, he makes a catch, and then he makes another guy miss, and he slides? Maybe y'all don't remember that. He made like two people slide on the grass, and you're like, dang, what are they sliding for? And he said, Under Armour cleats strike again. Which is perfect because I had a pair of Under Armour cleats come apart on me one time in a game, and I'll never forget it. Never live it down. So, Braden, you get one for me. And my next two are Turner Walker. So times 2 for Turner Walker.
Okay.
Turner Walker's a good poster.
He's a great poster.
He's my Prattville buddy. He played football at Prattville, I believe, or at least went to Prattville. I think he was a kicker because he gave us some kicker.
Really?
He gave us some kicker mechanics and some breakdown. And you know how I'm about breakdown. So I love that.
Man.
He started a playoff thread, and I gave him the blue football tab on there, and he ran it well, man. So
good job, Turner Walker.
Good for him. Because my high school coach didn't know anything about kicking. He used to scream at him about get off time, and then he would, MF him for the next 10 minutes, and that was about it.
He said, calm, struck straight through the ball. Can't do much better than that on a kick that a guy made. A clutch kick, I believe it was. So.
I'm a specialty holder. I was the holder. And don't forget, my kicker went to kick for Alabama.
How about that?
Were you actually a holder?
I was.
Nice. Hey, I punted in 2 games.
I punted too.
I had a cast on my hand. I dropped a snap, and they said, all right, we ain't doing that anymore. Okay, fine. That's cool.
Okay, Turner Walker time to Alan Head.
So I got JMK. You talked about it earlier. Good poster. I thought he's brought a lot of good information over the portal cycle. And even before that, as the end of the recruiting cycle, I thought he was doing a really great job on the board. And then Big Sexy, because he was talking today about, I don't know if you guys saw it, the new proposed from the AFCA convention portal windows from January the 2nd to I think the 12th or something like that, or maybe it was the 4th to the 14th. Either which way, it was a 10-day window to cut it down some. And a lot of people were still arguing that, hey, that doesn't necessarily solve the problem because the playoff's still going and other things. And he made mention of what we had talked about on the show, which is why don't we just do away with spring football altogether and create mini camps over the summer and let have just one portal period in the spring, right?
Yes.
1 10-day
finish your degrees.
Yes.
Finish up your semesters, transfer, have summer camp, and go into fall.
I know people are going to want to see A-Day or their spring game or whatever, but to me,
don't care for it.
I don't either. Let them have mini camps, get whatever conditioning work they need to get, teamwork they need to get done in the summertime. You can do that. It's enough time for you to spread 15 practices over the summer, and then you're not rushing things, right? And to me, that's the biggest part of this is that you're just pushing a square peg into a round hole by forcing all of this January enrollment and everything else. Let things play themselves out. Maybe even move back signing day to February again so that you don't have all this convoluted, pushed up.
Everything's so rushed.
It is. It's so rushed. Space it out.
Let these kids finish their senior seasons. Let these kids play basketball for their senior seasons.
Yes.
Man, I'm all for that.
Let the coaches breathe for a second, too.
It's so much. Dude, December's too much. It's too much.
It's congested. Yeah, it is.
That wasn't the way for sure.
No. Let's see. I got 4.5. How about you to Chase 25? How about you to Weeds?
Hey,
how about you to Kevin Durant's Burner 2, not to be confused with Kevin Durant's Burner 1. How about you to JMK 205? So that's a squared for him. And how about you to Emily Pinkston?
I like that.
Nice.
How about you, girl?
Yeah.
I can't, big dog. I was going to say big girl. She's obviously not a big girl. This girl went and ran like 3 marathons.
Yeah, she did a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon all in one weekend.
How about you, Miss Pink?
Killed it.
Big dog.
Dude, all together, that's a marathon, my man.
Yeah.
It's 22.1 miles altogether, I think.
Unbelievable. All right, that's going to do it, folks. We're going to be back Sunday night for the call-in show. Don't forget about HelloFresh. Get 10 free meals at HelloFresh.com/FreeAuburnLive. That's Free Auburn Live. All lowercase, one word, applied across 7 boxes. New subscribers, varies by plans. That's 10 HelloFresh meals. HelloFresh.com/FreeAuburnLive. All right, folks, look for us Sunday. Look for us at Auburn Live on 3. As always, there's promotion going on, 50% off an annual subscription. Just use the promo code FRIEND, all caps, FRIEND. That'll get you 50% off an annual subscription. Hope to see you on Auburn Live on 3's The Corner Message Board. All right, folks, we appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody watching. For Sir Alan Head, for Mr. Cole Pinkston, for Zach in the back who stayed in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay in that left lane. See ya.